Okay, welcome, Sophie. So just for anybody watching this, we're doing a live phenomenal conversation, or the introductory part of what be a phenomenal conversation on the topic of soul purpose. And what is different about today is there's no accompanying event. So this is almost like a trailer for an in-person live event that Sophie and I plan to do in the Netherlands in the near future. So welcome, Sophie. Thanks very much for speaking to me and agreeing to be interviewed on this very critical topic. Would you just like to share for anybody listening or watching something of your background that led you towards this deep calling of soul purpose?
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much for inviting me, Dave. So I'm Sophie. I'm from the Netherlands, a long time ago I decided I wanted to make a change in business. So I studied business and I worked in business because I thought, okay, the biggest change can happen there.
Yeah.
And I started working in big multinationals, I got a normal role. I thought, I had to become the CEO to change things, but soon I got a second role as sustainability leader. So for many years, I transformed the company towards embracing more purpose and sustainability. And then at some point, I left the corporate world after about 15 years to start my own company, to work with leaders that really want to use their business as a force for good, but don't know how. So now I work with leaders who want to become the regenerative lighthouses of their industries and show that it is possible to create businesses and ecosystems, as I call them, that are nature positive and that are operating as ecosystems and as nature.
Okay, well, thanks for that brief introduction. We're going to go much deeper into some of those elements right away. You mentioned, being an early pioneer of sustainability in corporate organizations. Can you share a little bit of what that looks like for real? Because many companies promote themselves as being sustainable or have products they claim as sustainable. But my sense is that you've done it for real in a company. So what does a company look like before and after they've been through this sort of huge transformation or huge commitment?
Yeah, so I always bring it back to the people, basically.
Yeah.
So in the end, organizations are created, co-created and shaped by the people. And then it really starts with a purpose. So always when I had chosen a company to work with, I looked at their kind of purpose and mission statement and their values and their importance of leadership. And then most of the time I didn't see that back in practice. So that is where the gap was. So when I started, for example, in Procter & Gamble on embracing the role as sustainability leader, I really started with the purpose and what that would mean for the organization I was part of, which was at that time P&G Netherlands, and really talk to everyone what it means to them, how they want to bring across their purpose in their work and how they could bring to life the purpose of the company. And then obviously, so for me, it always starts with purpose and values and really activating and integrating that into the strategies, the operations, the culture, so that in the end, the outcomes and the impacts are positive for all aspects of the people, the planet, and obviously the business.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is it in a nutshell. And it is always starting also with this vision of, okay, what does it mean for a company to become purpose-driven, values-driven and sustainable? And obviously strategies are nice, but executions is what we see and impacts is what we see.
Yeah.
So it's always bringing it back to practice. What are we actually realizing?
Yeah. can you give an example of, an unsustainable practice that shifted to something sustainable, so it makes it a bit more concrete for anyone? People might be familiar, but it's good to have an example of some practice that was unsustainable that then became sustainable.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, for example, I fast forward to a company I helped who decided, a retailer in the Netherlands, who decided they wanted to do it different and move beyond sustainability, like moving beyond a shelf of sustainable products, and putting the focus on that to kind of what does it mean to become a retailer that is totally different, and actually by providing the goods or the services is having a positive impact on the planet and on the people by doing things different.
Yeah.
So this is about being regenerative and being as nature and giving back more than taking, basically.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's a very big vision, and it requires for an existing organization, and especially if the organization is bigger, a huge shift and a huge transformation. So what is required there is obviously this big vision is needed to create the creative tension with the current situation.
Yeah.
So people really think, wow, this is really something different, and I want to be part of it and see their role in it and are engaged and inspired. But it also requires radical honesty, how unsustainable or destructive the current practices and operations and products are. So making that visible very clearly with an independent organization was for example for this organization the starting point. So they worked with a global sustainable enterprise system, a platform that really audited all the products and all the suppliers on the sustainability of the materials, the operations, the supply chain, everything, and basically brought to life an industry standard on how sustainable these products were on a scale from 1 leaf to 5 leaves. And then really looking at all the sustainable certificates in the market and all the aspects of sustainability. So this is bringing total transparency and being very honest about where you stand. And then obviously making a plan how to change things. So, and then, for example, a small example was, okay, could we already bring some products quickly to the market that are totally regenerative? And this was then actually the first product was an internal product, which was Christmas cards. I mean, very simple product, to engage the employees. Every year this was sent. But there are, of course, and I found a company that made totally regenerative Christmas cards made from elephant poo, so waste basically. But also empowering the women in a community in India. The entire process was organic and natural, so natural dyes. All the waste was reused to fertilize the agriculture. So basically the entire process was natural. The materials are made from waste. And then more carbon. If you looked at the entire life cycle of the product, more carbon and methane was taken out of the atmosphere than bringing the atmosphere. So it was basically an example of a total nature positive and regenerative product. That they directly could see and feel and see that it is possible. So that sparked a lot of kind of engagement.
So it's like a torchbearer for the change, exemplifies everything that the regenerative or nature positive paradigm represents. And then they can see all the different facets of it. And then that gives them a model or a template for everything else.
Exactly.
Brilliant. That's a great example. So I think you mentioned purpose, and I'm interested because purpose is quite a buzzword now. There was even an article today in the Harvard Business Review. I haven't read it, but it said how to lead with purpose and not burn out. So purpose, you know, the ubiquitous use of, well, the use of purpose is becoming more ubiquitous, more widespread. What would you say is the key differences between how people are using that word and what you describe as soul purpose? So what's the key differences? My sense is purpose might be good, but the way that companies use it isn't always that sincere. So what would you say the main differences between the mainstream use of the word purpose and what you describe as soul purpose?
Yeah, so indeed there are many levels or I don't know, I mean, use of the word purpose indeed. So
yeah.
And then also purpose can be applied to an organization and it can be applied to a leader. So let's start with the leader. So in the end, if we go back to when we are born, we are all born with a soul purpose.
Okay.
So that means that we all humans have a unique role to play in serving the greater good and in serving the greater thriving of life on planet Earth.
Yeah.
And we are born with a blueprint that we can step into, and then of course there are many paths we can take, but we have lessons here to learn on planet Earth and to leave something behind. However, our current education system, our society, basically is not tapping into that potential we have as a human being. So basically we as human beings are spiritual beings here to serve. So that is actually lost. And for a leader, it is important to tap into the soul purpose because the world is getting more and more complex. I mean, it is already challenging to lead a business, but then with all the challenges we at the moment have, I mean, and that a business needs to respond to and mitigate, you cannot really do that without having a soul purpose, because indeed the article that you just shared, a lot of leaders are getting burned out. And purpose really is basically your compass. Your purpose and your values are your compass that help you to take authentic decisions and really leverage your true nature as a leader to thrive and help the people and the planet around you to thrive. So basically your soul purpose is the golden thread across your being. That's also, I mean, really encompasses your true nature and all of you, your mind, your body, your spirit, your soul. Basically it is who you truly are and also what your aspirational reason for being here is. And if that is made, I mean, for many leaders, I mean, they say hardly like 20% of business leaders know their purpose, but then even a smaller percentage can articulate it or is conscious about it. So it's really about tapping into this consciousness of soul purpose and then really this aspirational being to serve, to serve for a better world. That is needed now for leaders to step into. And by doing that, they will find meaning, they will find happiness, health, fulfillment, and also inspire entire, I mean, teams and cultures and organizations and ecosystems to also step into that. Because that is what soul purpose does. If someone is an authentic leader and really steps into his or her soul purpose, by doing that and sharing that, it inspires others also to do that. Because you become unstoppable and you thrive because you're doing what you're meant to do here on the planet.
That's beautiful. Okay, Sophie, so you were just talking about purpose and what purpose in a leader looks like, and we just had a slight pause there. Can you continue on that theme and flavor of soul purpose and how that can you were mentioning how leaders that exemplify soul purpose can transform organizations because they've got a different energy and they're, you know, more alive, as it were. What else would you like to say about soul purpose and organizational change?
Yeah, so to continue for the leader, I mean, at the moment, a lot of leaders struggle with burnout and stress. I mean, by the global Gallup study, I mean, it is shown that a very small percentage, I think around 30%, really experiences well-being and is thriving, and about 80% is not engaged at work. So stress and burnout and mental health issues is becoming a very huge problem in organizations and among people. And soul purpose is really the answer for that, because it also enables people to really step more into their heart, which is the window to the soul. And really understand what their soul purpose is and how they can serve the bigger whole, the web of life. Because in the end, that is why we're here. We are also beings that want to connect. So we want to feel how we can contribute to others and also to the planet. So this is really something that is fundamental to bring back healing in humanity. And as such, as we heal and as we become more whole and step into our soul purpose, then also we can heal the others and the planet around us.
Sure. Yeah.
So it starts with the leaders and it starts with all the employees in the organization, because it's relevant for everyone and very fundamental. And then for an organization, also an organization needs to have a purpose, right? And that starts with this question: why is the organization here, and how can the organization as a bigger ecosystem serve the ecosystem that it is creating and serve the ecosystems that are around an organization, and of course the wider world. And this is fundamentally different than a lot of purposes out there that are merely marketing phrases to show that there is a purpose. But so it is really a challenge for an organization to really authentically dive deep into why this organization is here and how it can be really a catalyst for transformative change, which is really needed now. And again, I mean, it starts with this bigger vision of, okay, what does the company wants to create? What is the moonshot or the earth shot the organization wants to embrace, which obviously encompasses a transformation of a societal problem, be it a social or an environmental problem or both. And then this why is the company there, and does it really matter, and who do they serve, and what do they change? So that is a very important starting point. And then obviously if that purpose is there and that vision is there, I mean, they can basically formalize their values, their mission and their strategies, and put it all into operation and practice. And I always ask, okay, an organization, there is a heritage story, which has a context, right? And maybe, so that is relevant, but then the context the organization is operating in and in the industry is another layer that they need to dive into, and whether they take their responsibility to care for what ecosystem they are part, and how they contribute to the healing of the planet. Because at the moment, the planet is sick. Most of humanity is sick, and we need to take responsibility as humanity and as leaders who shape companies that can be a catalyst for positive change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I love that picture. And some theoretical idea I have about how that works, and maybe you can corroborate it with a real example. But for example, a company that steps up to a company's greater purpose is more about improving or healing the wider system. So in traditional business, it's all about limiting the scope of responsibility and kind of all making it so focused that maximum profit can be achieved for shareholders. But a company that takes a wider responsibility for the ecosystem they're in, are they able to inspire other participants to do so, or do they often standing alone? Are they able to enroll other stakeholders in the ecosystem to join them in that purpose?
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly.
Yeah.
Because then every small step also helps, right? So companies that at the moment can only embrace doing less harm and staying within the planetary boundaries is also a first step. And it's also better than being destructive and doing nothing, right? And just continuing business as usual. So it is I call it it's a journey of evolution. And we are being asked, with the issues accelerating, to step up our responsibilities in that. And awaken to the fact we are nature, we are part of nature, we are part of a web of life, and the more positive impacts we make, the better for us, and the better for others, and the better for the planet. So I'm talking about this shift of perception to view businesses and the world in a different way, in a way that we are part of, and they really understand we are part of nature, we are part of this bigger web of life, and that everything we do, we have a responsibility to ask ourselves the question: is this contributing to thriving of life, or is it destructive to life? Is it healing life, or is it destroying life? The more we tap into our own purpose as an individual or as an organization, how we basically, in everything we do and everything we decide, can realize that positive impact, then we are making progress. The more companies do this and also take others with them, the more we go to a situation where leaders and organizations really leave only positive impact behind. Are we there? Not at all. Are there some companies that do this? Yes, especially smaller companies, because it's easier. Some bigger companies are on a journey. And then along that journey, the more they show how transparently and honestly where they are and what they are doing, and how they communicate about that is where they inspire others. I don't know what the Harvard Business Review said today, the article you read.
I haven't read it,
There are multiple researches and case studies that show that if a company is not only having an authentic purpose, but also really activating it and integrating it in all the aspects of the business will flourish, yes. But and also, it will have a positive impact on people and planet, and everyone thrives more. And that's what we all want. We want everyone to thrive, not only the business at the cost of, but we want the whole picture of it. And I think in terms of the whole sustainable development and the narratives that have been there for, as long as I live, we need to bring it back to the story of wholeness. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the whole story. It's not just nature, nature as the natural environment. It's all of nature.
Yeah.
It's cultural, it's social, it's environmental, it's the entire ecosystem that we need to take into account.
Yeah.
And if you understand that it is about wholeness and being whole as a leader and being really positive as a whole organization, not just aspects of it, and then basically pretend that you're sustainable, but it's only a little small part of the organization.
Yeah.
If we really embrace that wholeness and are very honest about it, then we will get there, because then we're becoming authentic and honest about where we stand and where we are.
Yeah. But I think that there's, that's kind of the critical point for change that you've emphasized, is this radical honesty. Without it, you can't recognize the reality. And then this, and I was curious because, what you're essentially saying to me is a spiritual message. Yeah, you've brought this message into corporations, which tend to be, if not skeptical, maybe agnostic or atheistic, as it were. So what is it that you're doing that enables people, like you were saying, to shift their perspective? What is it? How is it that you bring this message in and could succeed, whereas maybe somebody like me would be seen as a bit woolly or a bit fluffy or whatever? If I talked about ULab in some corporate environment. So how is it that you elicit that heart connection in businesses? What is it that you think you bring that opens people up to that? Because that's, in a way, all the other stuff is a consequence of tapping into that.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, in the end, it is really about bringing the spirit back in life and spirit back in organization, because I think there are not many organizations. I mean, there are quite some, but if you look at the planet as a whole, there are not many organizations where people really jump out of bed and they go to work and they thrive and they're happy and they're really thriving at work. And because and it should be, because work is 80% of what you do. I mean, in your kind of working life, right? So it needs to be fun. It needs to engage your spirit and I mean, basically also leverage all the talents and the gifts you have. But the way organizations have been organized basically took the spirit out of it, because they're not tapping into the purpose of people, the talent, which is basically the potential of people, because it's again also about wholeness. Because someone in an organization is not just good in marketing, they have way more to give. And an organization talks about human resources, like they talk about natural resources, whilst actually you're talking about people with a mix of talents that are unique, which is basically and they have a purpose here. And companies need to kind of open up to organize around talents and unleash the potential of an organization. I mean, what I do when I work with organizations, normally, I mean, these are organizations that see that things need to be organized in a different way. That are really ready for a next step in their strategy and putting it into practice in a way they create positive outcomes for the people in the organization, but also for I mean, the environment and the society, etc., around them. So what is then needed is most of the time a shock. I mean, a shock. So where they are, I mean, again, radical honesty, where they are with their organization, and most bigger organizations have a destructive impact. So with regards to a retailer, it's basically creating waste, because they have normally a take-make waste approach to products, and they put products in a market that last not for long, and so they're basically contributing to waste. So, and then for other companies, I mean, for a coffee company, it's like they're contributing to the climate problem, and as when they continue business as usual, basically there will be no coffee in a couple of years. So how can you basically get the clarity on where the business and the industry stands at the moment, and then turn it around? Because if we can do that, we can also turn it around. And then we're gonna, and then actually, and then we look, you can look at nature, how nature does it, and tap into the 3.8 billion of years of research and development and wisdom of nature. And then suddenly people get engaged because they see, oh my God, it's actually possible. We can turn it around. And then what can become the vision, and how can we create a movement? How can we inspire our organization? How we can inspire the industry to become this lighthouse that shows that it is possible to, in terms of the coffee company, set up a climate positive movement and actually be the solution, and create as many carbon sink wonder farms and regenerative agriculture to kind of, while you drink a cup of coffee, actually solve the climate climate change problem. So it's really kind of tapping into the, I mean, everyone wants to do good. Everyone has this innate intention to do good, but is stuck in a system that kind of blinds ourselves for, okay, what is possible, and how can I tap into my potential to make the impossible possible? Because it kind of, with all the news and all the negativity and all the problems, it's overwhelmingly negative. So what I do is basically, okay, that's the case, but how can we turn it around? And then the feeling that also creates, and the transformation is for people being kind of stuck, demotivated, stressed, burnt out, to being super engaged and inspired and motivated for the cause, for the vision, to make it happen.
So something inherently healthy to focus on something that gives back to the earth in a way. There's something creates a healthier organization, but also elicits all the potential and resources of the humans in the organization. They're liberated to give a lot more of themselves.
Yeah, exactly. And soul purpose again is important, because if we still see all these issues as something outside of us that we have to solve, we will burn out on that. So it needs to really spark something inside, and link, I mean, our kind of soul purpose, individual soul purpose, to, I mean, the connection with kind of what is happening around, and then it sustains. Then it kind of is unstoppable to continue. And obviously then there are lots of things still to take care of.
For sure.
It is a lot of work, but it helps to stay resilient and motivated and on fire as a leader, so to say.
Cool. I think we've covered most of the territory envisaged, but I kind of wanted to go almost back to the beginning, to your personal story, because from what you're saying and what you've told me, it seems like purpose was always a fire that was burning inside you. What was it that, and you mentioned you sort of got to a point in your work in sustainability, you recognized you had to switch. What were the key things that made you feel that you had to become a lighthouse yourself? What were a couple of things that happened that enabled you to kind of be this fire for possibility, regenerative world, pro-earth, positive earth impact, ecosophy, this kind of living that as your life? Could you describe a couple of critical moments for people that be interested in your personal leadership journey?
So I have many epiphanies, so it's not just one story. It's, I mean, and I always say, I mean, a purpose journey is a journey of life. So and so far for me, that has also been the case. So yeah, like I said, when I was 18 in the Netherlands, you are kind of then finished secondary school and you choose your study. And I really dive deep in that moment. What do I want? And I actually was interested into spirituality and philosophy, but I thought, okay, how on earth can I make a change in that? And I didn't really see it. And economy, I really hate it. I didn't understand it, that concept of scarcity. And I thought, okay, maybe that is something to really understand to then change. So that's why I came to choose business, to study that and work in business. Obviously, during my study, I mean, this was years back, obviously, I didn't find what I was looking for. There was one topic of ethics, and that was it. So I was like, okay, I'm going to start working in business and I'm going to do it different. And that is basically, and then actually the first thing that was logic to me was starting with purpose. So I had this innate purpose of, okay, I want to change the world. I want to kind of create this world that is beautiful and in harmony with nature and where we are inclusive and fair and all these things. So that was in me. And then I was kind of looking, okay, how can business play a role in that?
Yeah.
And obviously in the corporates, I mean, I had this vision of being totally positive, but that is not really possible in a corporate. So you need to be happy with the positive impacts you can make with, I mean, positive campaigns and setting up a factory with that is carbon neutral with windmills and these kind of things. I mean, they matter. But I mean, kind of realizing a corporate that is totally positive, I mean, that takes ages because it's a tanker that you cannot move as quick as you want. So, and also, I mean, I was working in a big corporation, multinational, where the focus, of course, was on profit. So I was kind of the cry in the desert to make it green. I had a lot of, I mean, closed doors, and I had to kind of navigate my way to make an impact. I mean, I saw it was possible. I kind of found people that wanted to make a change. So that is how I found my way. And that was, and I also realized that when people were given the opportunity to step into that purpose, I mean, they're using their gifts for creating an impact, that really made them fly, and that really made them do magic in the business and for the people on the planet. So during my time in corporate, it was just kind of super hard work because I had two roles, a normal business role to manage a business, and also a sustainability role where I really wanted to transform the company to become the most sustainable in the country at that time. So it was just kind of taking all my energy to do that. So actually only when I had so many kind of people around me that were making my life difficult, I realized, okay, I mean, I might need to shift to use my energy in a better way.
Right.
I did what I could. I mean, I made one organization the most sustainable in the country. I changed basically with many people to integrate sustainability in the innovation system. So I was like, okay, I did my role here. I sowed my seed, so to say. I now need to work with leaders that really want this, because I was fighting the leaders that didn't want it and trying to transform them and convince them that it is important. Which I managed, but that was taking its toll on my energy. So and it is also against nature, right? Because it is really pushing upstream, which I'm very grateful. I mean, I got the opportunity to do that. But I realized, okay, also because I became a mom, 3 children, and I wanted to organize my work and weave it more together with my life. So that it's really becoming as one. So that was a realization when my third was born, when I was working in like a second corporate with many changes of leaders, and one found sustainability important and the other not. So then I realized, okay, it is time now. I need to set up my own company and work with all the leaders that really want change and want to know how.
Yeah.
So that was another realization. And then I kind of also realized that what I did in the corporate world was always starting with purpose and articulating it and engaging people into their sole purpose and what it means in business. I didn't realize when I was doing it, maybe, a little bit, but I really realized that when I reflected upon that journey. And I could, really do so many things in all the kind of sustainability impact spaces, but it made me realize, okay, maybe that is where I need to start. I need to kind of help leaders how they can step into their sole purpose as a leader and how they can embrace it for their brands and their companies, what a true sole purpose means and how to translate that then into impact areas, socially and environmentally. So that was another epiphany, that it really starts with that. And if it doesn't start with that, it's not, there will be issues on the way, because you basically lead a business without a compass, without navigation. And so that was another one. And then there was another epiphany. There were many epiphanies on my journey, but the other was nature. And the wholeness of sustainability. That for me it is really logic to look at all the aspects of sustainability. But I realized that by reading about it in books and talking to people, that actually the world has evolved into a world that is based on the story of separation. And that, basically the Industrial Revolution, but also it goes way back, really realized that we are thinking in boxes and in silos, and that made life easier, but also resulted in the issues we're now facing. So we need to go back to the story of wholeness, that we are nature, that we're all part of this bigger web of life, and that we have a role to play in that. So basically I deepened into that story and started sharing that more. And also, I have been brought up in nature, also facing and experiencing a lot of cultures. I lived in many countries. And we both have a love for India, but in India this also came all together. The past 2 years I lived in India, and there, it's way more maybe than in the West, still very much linked to one another. So that, really the interwovenness of culture and spirituality and the natural environment, and how that translates into creating livelihoods and communities. It's way more linked. It's not; these are not separate things. Interwoven. And we need to go back to that interwoven story of life. Because if we see that everything connects, we also make decisions in our life in a way that respects life in everything we do.
Okay, well, I think we've covered most of the ground that I thought was important for this conversation. Is there anything you'd like to add or say more to what you've already said so far?
Yeah, I think, there is this big topic now on greenwashing.
Yeah.
maybe we need to, address that, because there is now this topic of greenwashing, and there's also this topic of then, okay, people and leaders and organizations start being afraid of sharing what they're doing.
Yeah.
And both is an issue. So for this, I mean, the solution is very simple. I would say is to be very transparent and honest. I mean, and that can be scary, because you also need to be honest about what is not going well. But
Yeah.
that is what is required, to be totally honest about where you are as a leader and as an organization. And also, I mean, embrace the invitation to do things different and to become regenerative and life affirming. Because that is what we need now.
Yeah.
Then there are lots of ways to explain that. I mean, it's all about language, but in the end, it is what is really happening in practice. So this honesty on where you stand and what you're doing and what you're realizing, that is what matters. And that is what is also the issue in greenwashing, because, I mean, just sharing that you're, doing something for nature and that it is amazing. Yeah, of course, it's amazing. If you don't do it, it's better than don't do anything. But then at the same time, being a very disruptive company is greenwashing.
Yeah.
So for all the companies, and most of the companies are destructive, they need to start saying, okay, I'm destructive. I want to learn how to become regenerative, how to do the planet.
Yeah.
And I have done these steps, but what else can I do to become a healing force? Because in the end, that is what we're invited to as humanity, to become a healing force and a regenerative force, and to become like nature really is.
Yeah.
That is the invitation, and that is the solution to all companies kind of struggling, about greenwashing, or fearing that they say something that they do good and then being punished for that. So
that you're more talking to the companies that are afraid of being accused of greenwashing, rather than those that are, because those that are somehow fundamentally dishonest in a way that's difficult for that to shift, I would think.
Oh, I think, we need to address both. The companies that are greenwashing need to realize that they're greenwashing.
They need to admit it.
And they need to admit it. It's fine that they do something green. Great. You can talk about that. And at the same time, you have to say, okay, and we are destructive.
Yeah.
This is our,
so it's to see both sides of that picture.
Yeah.
When it's greenwashing.
Yeah, and of course there's a difference that I think you're addressing that. There are the fossil fuel companies that are greenwashing, and you have like the fair trade coffee that is greenwashing. There's a difference between the two. But everyone needs to kind of, we need a lot of honest, imperfect leaders and companies that are being very honest about where they are and what they do, and that's the key. And indeed, the greenwashers that don't acknowledge that they're greenwashing, we need to address those, obviously.
Call it out.
Stop that. Because that's not helpful. But there are a lot of shades of green, so to say. And shades of greenwashing and purpose washing, and which we need to address, and which is difficult because language can be misinterpreted, can be misused, can be mispracticed, and we need to keep addressing that.
Okay, I think I'm going to end the recording.